My name is Luke, and for the longest time, I was convinced I was living a perfect life. At 38, I was a published author living in a Manhattan brownstone with my wife, Chloe, a financial consultant whose voice could dissolve my stress in an instant. She had a way of saying my name, soft and slow like a sacred vow. Every day began with her kiss on my forehead and coffee brewed exactly how I liked it. Every night concluded with her whispering that I was her entire world. I believed her, until one evening when my reality was shattered. It was nearly midnight when I stirred, noticing the bed beside me was empty. I initially figured Chloe had gone downstairs for a snack or to check on something. I rolled over, about to drift back to sleep, when I heard it. It was her voice, coming from her home office, low, serious, and utterly calculated. "He still doesn't suspect anything," she said. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. The air felt heavy, and my heart began to pound like a drum inside my chest. I sat up, straining to hear more. "Everything's going as planned." "Almost done," she went on. Tiptoeing to the hallway, I pressed myself against the wall near her office door. A thin sliver of light escaped from the crack. I could barely make out the rest, but it didn't matter. I had heard enough. I slipped back into bed, lying as still as a statue and feigning sleep. When Chloe returned minutes later, she got into bed with the same practiced calm, pulling the blanket over us as if she hadn't just demolished my universe. That night, I didn't sleep a wink. I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. I didn't know the specifics of her plan, but I knew one thing for certain: my wife was hiding something, and I was at the center of it. The next morning, I moved through our kitchen like a ghost. Chloe was still asleep, her breathing deep and steady. I stood before the coffee maker, my hands trembling as I reached for my phone. Until that moment, I had never once looked at our finances. Chloe always managed everything: the bills, the savings, the investments. I trusted her completely. I thought that was what a good husband was supposed to do. But I was learning that trust could be the first step toward losing everything. I opened our banking app, my breath hitching in my throat. Transaction after transaction flashed across the screen. $500 here, $1,000 there, $750, $2,000, dozens of withdrawals over the past 3 months. Nothing huge on its own, but together they painted a very ugly picture. I gripped the edge of the counter, trying to steady my trembling body. Then, her voice came from behind me. "Checking the account this early?" Chloe's tone was casual, but I caught the flicker of surprise in her eyes as she leaned against the doorway, rubbing the back of her neck. "Just being curious," I managed, trying to sound nonchalant. "Some of these charges look unfamiliar." She walked over, poured herself a cup of coffee, and gave me a rehearsed smile. "Oh, those? Just a few small investments." I must have forgotten to mention them. She took a sip, refusing to meet my eyes. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't anger, not yet. It was something colder, something sharper. I nodded slowly, pretending to accept her explanation, but I was watching her now, not with love or trust, but with chilling clarity. Every casual shrug, every deflection, was another crack in the facade I had once cherished. That night, I noticed more. She was on her phone constantly, always placing it face down, always stepping out to take calls. When I asked what she was working on, she would smile and say, "Just business. Nothing for you to worry about." But I was worried, deeply, and that worry was hardening into resolve. I wasn't going to wait around to discover her plan. I needed answers, and I needed them immediately. 2 days later, my chance arrived. It was a quiet evening. Chloe had just finished dinner and announced she was going for a shower. Normally, she carried her phone everywhere, as if it were an extension of her body. But tonight, for the first time, she left it on the dining table. I stared at it, my heart hammering against my ribs like a warning bell. I waited 30 seconds, then 60. I heard the water running upstairs, and I reached for it. Her phone was unlocked. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through her recent messages. Most were harmless work reminders and casual chats. But then one message thread stood out. There was no contact name, just a number. The most recent text read, "Send him the Ilium files. Just make sure he stays in the dark." Almost done, I froze. I read the message again, and then a third time, my mind reeling. Ilium files? Make sure *he* stays in the dark? Who was he? Was it me? Was she sending someone something about me? My stomach churned. I placed the phone back exactly where she had left it, careful not to disturb a thing. Then I walked to the kitchen, splashed cold water on my face, and tried to slow my breathing. The sound of the shower was still going. I had a few more minutes, but I couldn't stop thinking. Chloe wasn't just lying, she wasn't just cheating, she was planning something big, and I was her target. Later that night, when she got into bed, she kissed my forehead as she always did. "You okay?" she asked, her voice soft. I nodded and smiled faintly. Just tired, inside, I was screaming. She didn't know that I had seen the message. She still believed I was in the dark. That was her mistake, and I planned to use it. The next morning, as soon as Chloe left for work, I called Anna Prescott. Anna wasn't just my best friend from college, she was also a brilliant estate attorney. We had lost touch for a few years but reconnected last summer over coffee. I never imagined I'd be calling her like this. When she picked up, I didn't waste time. My voice shook as I told her everything, Chloe's late-night whispers, the hidden transactions, the message about the Ilium files. She listened quietly. When I finished, she asked just one question. "How much money are we talking about?" "Close to 100 million, I said. There was a pause. Then her voice came back, firm and clear. "Luke, we need to move your assets." Now I felt my knees weaken, so I sat on the edge of the couch. "Are you sure?" I whispered. "Yes. If you wait, she'll make her next move. We'll create a trust in your name. It'll be legally protected. She won't be able to touch a dime." I swallowed hard. The apartment, the savings, the book royalties, the investments, everything I had worked for was on the line. "I'm in," I said. The next 72 hours were a blur of documents, signatures, and phone calls. Anna worked like a machine. She brought in her team, and we moved the apartment title into the trust, locked down the investment accounts, and shifted every asset under my personal legal protection. By the time Chloe got home on the third day, I had done what I never thought I would have to do, defend myself from the woman I once trusted with my life. She walked through the door carrying takeout, wearing her usual charming smile. "Thought we'd have Thai tonight," she said cheerfully. I nodded and took the bag from her hand. She had no idea everything had changed. The papers were signed, the money was moved, the fortress was built. She could try whatever she wanted, but she would never get near my assets again. And I wasn't going to warn her. Let her believe I was still asleep. Let her make the next move. Because now, I was ready. For days later, Chloe made her move. It was a Friday evening. She came home earlier than usual, dressed in one of her tailored suits. She looked calm, almost smug, as she set her briefcase down and sat across from me at the dining table. "We need to talk," she said, sliding a folder toward me. I didn't flinch. I opened it slowly, revealing the documents inside. "Divorce papers." "I think it's for the best," she continued, her voice rehearsed. "We've grown apart. I don't want things to become more painful." I looked up at her, keeping my face unreadable. "Really?" I asked. She hesitated for a second, just long enough for me to see the flicker of uncertainty behind her eyes. Then she nodded. "Yes. It's better this way." I took a breath and slid the folder back toward her. "Before we go any further, there's something you should know." Her brows drew together. "What?" I leaned forward just slightly, my voice calm, clear, and deliberate. "I've already moved everything." She blinked. "What?" "The apartment, the accounts, the royalties. All of it. It's in a protected trust now. You can't touch it." The color drained from her face. What do you mean?" I mean, I said, my tone steady, you don't get to walk in here, hand me divorce papers, and walk away with half of my life. Her jaw tightened, her hand clenching around the edge of the folder. You can't do that. I already did. She stared at me for a long moment, searching for some sign of weakness, but I didn't give her one. You were right about one thing, I said quietly. Life is unpredictable. She pushed back from the table, slowly rising. We'll see each other in court, she said, her voice cold and sharp. I smiled and stood too. Then go ahead. Try. She walked out of the room, and for the first time in weeks, I exhaled. Because now she knew I wasn't the man she could manipulate anymore. I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. 3 days after Chloe stormed out, I noticed something strange at work. Whispers, side glances. Colleagues who usually greeted me with warmth suddenly avoided eye contact. It wasn't paranoia, it was too consistent. Then my assistant, Rachel, walked into my office, her face pale, holding a printout. I think you need to see this. It was a screenshot from an anonymous online forum, a post titled, CFO hides funds during divorce using company money. Underneath was a paragraph accusing an unnamed executive of embezzling funds to protect himself in a divorce, implying criminal activity. In the comments, someone had made it specific, I know who it is. Luke. Look into him. I felt the blood drain from my face. Chloe. She was behind this. I could feel it in my bones. She's trying to ruin me, I whispered. Rachel nodded solemnly. If this spreads, it could damage your reputation. Or worse. I stood up, pacing the room. I had spent years building my name, my credibility. I had climbed every step on my own merit, no shortcuts, no favors. And now, one lie could tear it all apart. I need to call Anna, I said, grabbing my phone. That evening, I sat across from Anna at her office. She listened as I laid out what was happening, my voice shaking with a mix of fear and fury. This isn't just personal anymore, I said. She's trying to destroy me professionally. Anna leaned back, her fingers steepled. She's playing dirty, she said, trying to force you into a settlement. She wants to scare you into giving up. I looked her dead in the eye. I'm not backing down, she nodded, already drafting a letter. First step, a cease and desist. If she pushes this further, we'll sue for defamation and reputational harm. A small spark of hope ignited inside me. She wanted to wear me down with lies, but she had underestimated one thing: I wasn't afraid of the truth. And I wasn't going anywhere. Just when I thought I had seen all of Chloe's tricks, she went even lower. 3 days later, Anna called me into her office. Her tone was clipped, serious. She just filed a lawsuit, she said as I walked in. She's accusing you of financial fraud. My heart sank. What? She claims you illegally moved marital assets. She's alleging you embezzled funds from your joint accounts. I slumped into the chair across from her. She can't be serious. She is. And there's more, Anna said grimly. She slid a file across the desk. She's not alone. She filed with a co-plaintiff. I opened the folder. The name hit me like a punch to the gut, Iliamero. It was the name from the text message, the one I had read on Chloe's phone. Who is he? I asked. Anna crossed her arms. A known fraudster. He's been linked to multiple cases involving forged documents. No convictions yet, but a long trail of suspicion. I flipped through the documents. They were detailed, filled with numbers and fake transactions, some even mimicking my signature. These aren't mine, I said, my voice rising. These are fabrications. Anna nodded. We know. But we have to prove it. And fast. My hands clenched into fists. All the fear I had been carrying turned into fire. She's trying to bury me in lies again. Anna's eyes narrowed. Then let's make sure those lies collapse on top of her. She handed the file to a forensic finance expert. For the next week, we worked non-stop, gathering real transaction records, tracing digital footprints, verifying every move I had made. I barely slept, but I kept going, because this wasn't just about money anymore. This was about my name, my integrity, and my right to defend what was mine. By the end of the week, we had everything we needed. The expert traced the false documents to Iliamero's firm. The dates didn't match, the signatures were off, and most importantly, there was no paper trail connecting those fake transactions to any of my real accounts. Chloe had thrown everything she had at me, but the truth was stronger. And it was on my side. A month later, we walked into court. Anna was calm, sharp as ever. I sat beside her, dressed in navy, my shoulders back, my hand steady. Across the room, Chloe looked like a shadow of the woman I once knew, angry, twitchy, unprepared. The judge reviewed the case carefully. Our documentation was airtight. Iliamero never showed up. The moment the ruling was read aloud, I closed my eyes, not out of relief, but out of finality. The court dismissed Chloe's claims. She was denied access to any part of my trust. Her defamation tactics backfired, and instead of winning anything, she was ordered to cover my legal fees. After the hearing, she tried to approach me in the hallway. "You didn't have to do this," she said, her voice low. I looked her straight in the eye. "No, Chloe. You didn't have to do this." Then I walked away for good. In the weeks that followed, I picked up the pieces of my life, slowly and carefully. I returned to writing. I took long walks in Central Park. I let the quiet replace the chaos. I didn't celebrate, I reflected. Because victory doesn't always feel like joy. Sometimes it feels like peace after a storm. Sometimes, it's just the absence of fear. I learned something through all of this, something everyone should know. Trust is a gift, but control over your life is a right. No matter how loving someone seems, never hand over your power blindly. Know your worth, protect your future, and be willing to act before it's too late. And if someone ever tries to break you with betrayal, stand. Stand, and let the truth speak louder than revenge. If you're still listening, thank you. And if this story resonated with you, share it. Like, comment, let others know they're not alone. Because strength isn't just surviving the storm, it's learning how to own the sky afterward.